appreciate you coming. I'd just like to introduce the village board that's here now. If you don't know, I'm Mayor Baldini. I have a Deputy Mayor Tom Sepp, Trustee Mary Del Vecchio, Trustee Mike Dopsovich, and Trustee Pat Fawcett. And the guy in the middle is our village attorney, Charlie Castellaro. Also from the Suffolk County Legislator Steve Flattern is here. And from Islip Town Board, John Cochran. I don't believe any other elected officials are here, but if you are, I apologize. All right. At this time, I'd like to bring up Chaplain Chet Striplin from American Legion Post 365.
Uncover. On this day, we call to mind those who gave their lives that our nation might live. Alas, that its preservation should have entailed the loss of so much. Treasure should have brought so much suffering, should have demanded so many young and promising young lives. The only fitting memorial to those sacrifices is our self-dedication to the task of abolishing all inner strife, hatred, and bitterness from among us, from the faith of America. Creator God, in the spirit of community, we pause to remember lives lost and lives forever changed in war. May we also remember your great love for us, and that there is no greater demonstration of love than to lay down one's life for another. Grant that our reflections today honor those who made that choice, as well as the many more willing to do so if called upon. To honor their legacy, we commit ourselves to more vigilant in our love for others, for our nation, and the cause of freedom, justice, and peace throughout the world. Amen. May the remembrance of the price we paid for our life as a nation impel us to seek justice, to foster freedom, and to pursue the ways of peace. May our nation be a source of blessing to all its people and to the rest of humankind. Amen. Cover.
The next one, the army one.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like everybody to stand, please, for the singing of the national anthem and for the Pledge of Allegiance. The national anthem is Deirdre Carmichael.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air,
Scout Pledge of
Once again, we thank everybody for coming today. This would look so much better outside, but we're doing our best, and we appreciate everybody putting up with it. You can please sit down. If the speech is any good, you guys could stand up after it, okay? But for now, you can sit down. I appreciate it. But just this weekend, all across the country, small towns and villages are going to be having ceremonies like this, and it's so important that we continue this tradition. The whole tradition of Memorial Day goes back to right after the Civil War, like the following year or so, when people in small towns and cities all across the North would come together to decorate the graves of people who died in the Civil War. And it was called Decoration Day for like the first 100 years. But they would get together, they would put flags, flowers on the graves, and it was so important, and it was such a small town of look. In 1868, it was the first time the country decided to make it one day and to try to bring it all together. So in 1868, at Arlington Cemetery, it was the first official national ceremony, and 5,000 people gathered together to decorate 20,000 graves. Now, 20,000 graves, when you think about it, in the 1800s, is a lot of graves, and they were all the people from the Civil War. But today in Arlington, there are over 400,000 people buried there, which is an incredible amount. And I've had the privilege of being at Arlington Cemetery a couple of times, and the big thing that you see when you walk around, you really feel like you're in some place that's reverent. But you look around also, in the graves, there's different names, if you could tell, from different countries, from all over the world, different races, different religions. There's male, there's female. Everyone is buried there. And the one thing they have in common, well, they have a few things, but the first thing they have in common is they've all worn the uniform of the United States. So it didn't matter where you were from. Once you put that uniform on, you were equal, and they were serving you and I. The other thing they have in common is the color of their blood. When they fought and died and got wounded in battle, they all shed the same red blood. And if you think down, we're all the same inside. And if everybody just started with that and realized that, I think our lives would be a lot better. Today, there's a stretch, there's some people looking to maybe change history a little bit, alter it a little bit. So that's why it's so important for us, small communities, small towns throughout this country, to always remember the traditions that made us the great country that we are. To always remember that those who put on the uniform, those who shed their blood, those who made the ultimate sacrifice, are the ones who gave us a free country, made us a free people, and let us be here something like this today. So I want to thank you again for, this is a tremendous turnout in this weather, and I want to thank you all for being here. God bless America. we got the only Italian bagpiper there is, Victor Vaccaro. Thank you. It's okay. He's here today, right? So it's all good. The next speaker has become a very good friend of the village of Brightwaters. I've known him on and off for years, but last year with the walkway, he was a tremendous help. He stepped up. He helped with the color guard. He's always there for us, and he looks good in a uniform. So I'd like to welcome General John Gedilio.
Thank you, Mayor. The one positive aspect of the rain is that I've cut the speech back. So instead of 20 minutes, I've cut it down to 19. And I see we have to adapt, improvise, and overcome. Elected officials, Captain Cochran, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, my fellow comrade veterans. As we gather here today on this May morning and we look at the flags flying, the stone and metal monuments that commemorate service nobly done and sacrifices nobly made, we come here to commemorate Memorial Day, to remember those who have sacrificed their lives for us. We come to decorate the graves and pay homage to them. We've been doing this for over 150 years, but let us take a moment to profess that in which we believe. I believe that all of us are the keepers of the flame that burns ever so brightly to represent its spirit, the spirit of America. Many would consider this to be the primary examples of patriotism. But really, what is patriotism? Memorial Day reminds us that many of those Americans before knew the true meaning of patriotism. Oliver Wendell Holmes called this our most sacred holiday, and he urged that we not ponder with sad thoughts the passing of our heroes, but rather ponder their legacy, the life that made possible for us by their commitment and pain. I believe that they fought and died for this great nation to maintain the American way of life and to protect and defend our country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. At its core, Memorial Day has always commemorated the universal, all-encompassing understanding that no greater love than this does any man have, that he laid down his life for his friends. Lincoln, in his memorial dedication of the Gettysburg battlefield in 1863, spoke of the inadequacy of words at times such as this: "The world will little know nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did." We as Americans, as a people, have embodied the spirit of we are all in this together, and united we will stand. On December 8, 1941, there were more enlistments than any other time in our history. The late Stephen Ambrose, one of America's most respected historians, wrote, "Americans do not get too tired to fight. Even though they paid dearly in human lives, determination outweighed that price." In his writings, Ambrose cited a letter written by General Eisenhower, sending to Hitler a warning: beware of the fury of aroused democracy. This is why we celebrate the memory of those who have given their lives in service to this great nation, from the hallowed Continentals and the militia and the framers of our Declaration of Independence, who fought an invincible foe to bring freedom to these shores, to the individuals who currently serve to defend the ideals and principles that we hold sacred: justice, freedom, and democracy. It is the memories of the courage of all who have served, their willingness to suffer and to sacrifice, and if need be, to give of their lives for that in which they believe, that must serve as an inspiration for all men and women of this great nation. It is a covenant that has been forged in the blood of their sacrifice. Our forefathers sacrificed to give us a nation where we are free to become whomever and whatever we wish, free from a state-directed religion, but not the abolishment of religion or the mention of God, free to make our own decisions, but not freedom from being held responsible for the decisions that we make. So what does this mean? We all know the saying from Jorge Santayana's book, Life of Reason, that those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. A quote actually attributed to the Irish Nobel laureate Sir Edmund Burke. Some feel that we Americans suffer greatly from such short-sightedness. Perhaps Winston Churchill said it best when he stated, "Fortune is rightly malignant to those who break the customs of the past." This reflects the concept that without our traditions, we have no past. And without our past, we stumble blindly into the future. We are a proud and free nation because of those who have sacrificed for us. We must never allow this covenant to be broken, nor must we allow the citizens of this country to forget the honorable service and lives that these veterans gave to defend and protect us. We must stand strong and tall with pure hearts and with the hearts of our comrades who did not return, and with noble purpose, as was the nobleness of their purpose years ago. We must never allow our fellow citizens to become like the English in the Rudyard Kipling barracks room ballad Tommy, the derogatory name for a British soldier, where Kipling wrote, "For it's Tommy this and Tommy that, and chuck him out, the brute, but it's savior of his country when the guns begin to shoot." Our traditions are also serve as our moral compass. The history of this country and the rest of the world is replete with examples that when taking the moral high ground, mankind ultimately benefits. At Thermopylae, King Leonidas, the sport of Sparta, could have just as easily retreated to a safer location to live another day. But that was not the tradition of the Spartan warrior. And perhaps his defense of that past kept Greek culture and philosophy alive, so that Athens and its principal citizen Pericles could flourish. We think of our own forefathers, who with a tradition of individualism and self-reliance laid a foundation of independence from an overbearing government, so that they could throw off the yoke of governmental intrusion into the private lives of its citizens. They believed in the philosophies of John Locke and Adam Smith. They also believed in the traditions of their Judeo-Christian heritage, and dare we say, God. It is the maintaining and perpetuating of traditions that will ensure the continued existence of our American way of life. This is why we fight. We fight to maintain our individualism and not become a cipher, to be used and abused by an intrusive government. We fight for the right to make our own decisions and not to be directed as to what to do, how to do it, or when to do it. We fight to be able to worship God and to follow our own religion's tenet. We fight for our liberties, not for a government to take liberties from us. Yet with these rights come responsibilities. We must be held responsible for our actions, something that seems to be a foreign concept today. We parse our words. We define what the meaning of is. We prostitute our ethics and morality for personal gain and glory. A public trust should be paramount in the actions of elected officials, not leaving office wealthier than when they entered. Today, it is en vogue to say it takes a village to raise a child. It does not take a village. It takes parents to instill in their children a sense of right and wrong, good and evil. The death of any soldier in war is tragic, but if their sacrifice is to have meaning, it is in the perpetuating of that in which they and we believe, the traditions of our nation. Our traditions have kept lit the flame of our nation, which has burned ever so brightly in the past, in the present, and hopefully into the future. And perhaps Pericles said it best when he said, "What you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but rather what is woven into the lives of others." So on today, this most sacred of days, we pause to reflect on which has been given and sacrificed. Let us never forget. Let each of us rededicate ourselves to keep alive the memories of our fellow comrades who have answered their last bugle call. We must keep their memories and instill in others why we hold their memories sacred. We must never allow time to dim the light from the flame. We must keep it bright, for it represents the covenant that shall ever be sacrificed in defense of justice, freedom, and democracy. May God bless all of us, and may God bless America. Thank you.
John. Our next speaker is Resident Captain John Cochran, who is also an ISLA council person. John's very helpful to the village all the time, and we appreciate all his help. John?
Thank you, Mayor. Can I have a veteran stand up, please? Uncle Jim, stand up, please. Thank you for your service. I want to thank the Marine Corps. When we look at a day like Memorial Day, it's time to reflect. When we see the POW MIA flag, there's 73,000 American soldiers, sailors that are still missing. They're identified 16 sailors this month from the USS Oklahoma from Pearl Harbor. This is a realization that we who serve understand that we're not going to forget those people. There's 41,000 that we can never get back. Those are sailors, Marines, merchant Marine sailors that did the ultimate sacrifice going down with their ships. One of the things I do is, as I reflect back at my service, and when we start looking at following the general, you know, in the services we all kind of heckle each other, and the best heckling I think is between a squid and a grunt. It's just an ongoing. I'm a taxi driver. You know, these guys and girls who serve and what they do is unbelievable. It's remarkable what the Marine Corps does, and not just like the Army or the SEALs or anything else. It's just when they're Semper Fi, and you look them in the eyes, they went through training, and they wear America on their sleeve. And one of the things that we do in the Navy, and I know Uncle Jim, Judge Gowan was a good friend of my dad. You guys served together, Korean War vet. And it's good seeing you, sir. That, you know, the people starting really from the Korean War to now, to 1991, we were Cold War veterans. So you might have been in Korea, Vietnam, you know, but we served during a period of the U.S. versus communism. And there's a lot of people that served peacefully. People had to go to Vietnam and or Korea and serve under the wartime premises. And those are when you go to Arlington, as the mayor said, or you go to some of our national cemeteries, you know, it is breathtaking knowing that these people made their ultimate sacrifices. But one of the benefits, I think, of being a military person is there's 6 degrees of separation. There's a story, I've been from Beirut to Baghdad in my Navy service. So I was there when the building got blown up with the 210 Marines, going all the way to the Second Persian Gulf War. And when I landed on the USS New Jersey, Battleship New Jersey, I'm an old battleship guy for us sailors, they took me up to my stateroom, and I'm hanging my Yankee hat. And this old guy comes in. He had to be like 30 years old. And I go, "You don't mind if I hang your Yankee hat?" And he goes, "Yeah, no, why? Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from New York." "Whereabouts?" I go, "Long Island." He goes, "Oh, really? What town?" I go, "Bay Shore." He goes, "What street?" "Concourse East." He picks me up and goes, "You Brightwaters puke." Al Clark graduated in 1967 from Bay Shore High School. He grew up on Clinton Avenue. He became my mentor, and that old guy he actually retired as an LDO captain in the United States Navy. So he went from getting drafted in 67, going to Vietnam, and making it all the way to captain, being the senior Mustang, for the people who understand. That's enlisted, that makes it all the way up to an officer rank. And it comes full circle. This week we have a new employee in the town of Islip. He's a deputy commissioner of planning. So I see a guy looking at my shadow box. The shadow box is for us, is where we hang all our medals. I can't compete with him, General, sir. But he was checking it out, and then I turned to him, he goes, "Yeah, I'm a retired colonel in the Marine Corps." I'm like, "Oh, Semper Fi." So I go to his office, which are chatting, and he goes, "You're from here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, I have a good guy I work with and I admire. I go, "Who's that?" He goes, "Billy DeCamp." I see Mrs. DeCamp and Jeannie right there. I got to play rugby with Billy up in Newport in '83. So thank you, DeCamps, and Mrs. DeCamp. Good seeing you, Jeannie. It's always great seeing you. You bump into people. You don't know when you're on an Army base or fort or you're out at sea, you're going to bump into somebody. And those are brothers and sisters And Memorial Day, we all come together to remember those who can't be with their family and friends. And that is what I take out of there, letting us reflect back. Let this nation not forget. Today on the news, college students are starting to do petitions to cancel Memorial Day. And if we got that going on right now, this cancer culture's got to stop, because there's 73,000 people that are still missing, and Memorial has to continue until at least we know the ones that can't be recounted. At least we keep on trying to find those bodies and bring them home to their families. So enjoy this Memorial Day. Again, thank you, Mary. Next year, can I pull seniority on the general and go first? Because he gives some great speech. Enjoy your Memorial Day. It's good seeing you all.
Thank you, and thank you, John and John, for your speeches. Appreciate it. I'd like to recognize, I'm not sure if Jenny Haspis is here today, but Jenny and her husband, Stefan, they're part of a group called Operation VES, which is involved with Mission 222, which is pretty much supports the fact that 22 veterans still commit suicide just about every day. So, I don't know, Jenny, are you here? I don't know if you're here with your mask on or not, but I don't think they made it today because of the weather. But her and her husband got involved in this about 5 years ago, and they do an incredible job. And in a couple of weeks, they have a fundraiser at Gardner Park. But it's nice to see residents constantly stepping up, taking over these things, and they spend a lot of time with it. Also at this time, I'd like to recognize Bobby Holt and John Clark. 2 years ago, over at the cabin, we dedicated the flagpole to Stephen Prescott. Stephen Prescott was the only Brightwaters resident to die in combat in Vietnam. So he's the last person who was killed in combat from Brightwaters. And John and Bobby, over at the cabin, we have the flag, we have a nice plaque in reference to Stephen. But Bobby and John thought it was important that Stephen joined his fellow veterans down here at the Veterans Walkway. So I just want to thank John and Bobby for doing that. We've just added another 22 names to our Veterans Walkway. We're up to 300 and I think 52 names. If anybody would still like to add veterans to the walkway, then please contact Village Hall. And the next round will probably be Veterans Day. So we could keep adding. And the more we add, the more significance our walkway is. I think it's grown to an incredible thing. At this time, I'd like to bring up our bugler, please. If everyone could please stand. I'd like to dedicate the playing of taps to Stephen Prescott and to all those who made the ultimate sacrifice so that we can live free. Thank you. Thank you all for coming today. That concludes the ceremony. If you guys want to stay dry and talk for a little while longer in the tent,